Wanna fight? Fight me. But your style is no match for mine, yeah? My style? Why you wanna kick me? You're pretty good. We came here to battle.
Well, after a few episodes of me kind of bad-mouthing Amazon Prime, Prime Video as it's now called, they've rebranded again. I mean, I used to be all about the Netflix, but I discovered something that Amazon now does. So you can subscribe to channels.
That's right, yeah.
So one thing that I kind of paid for over a year ago was I subscribed to the BFI player, so British Film Institute. They had their own app with their own streaming channel. But the problem with it was they just didn't update it. So I had like the latest iOS on my iPads. Yeah. Couldn't play it through that, so if I wanted to watch these films, basically I had to watch it on my phone, which I hadn't updated. Couldn't run it through because I got a PlayStation 3 connected to the telly. I couldn't run it through that, so I was kind of limited. So I let the subscription go on that. But Amazon have recently allowed you to do BFI through that. So they offer a 7-day trial, which is kind of cool, and then it's $4.99 a month.
What's content like on there then?
For the BFI, for the BFI, it's really good if you like your LGBTQs, if you really like kind of like your British folk horror stuff, which is what I've been rinsing it for at the moment. Yeah. It's got loads of pretentious crap on there as well, which I kind of make myself watch because I always kind of think in pretentious crap there's got to be some interesting ideas in there somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they do stuff which you'd never do in a traditional narrative.
Okay.
And there might be something that I could steal from that and apply to a traditional narrative and make it interesting.
Make it better.
Hopefully. I read that folk horror book recently, so there was loads of the films that they were talking about and the shorts, which were on there. So it was cool to actually kind of see them rather than just read about them. Winstanley is on there, which is a great black and white thing from the 70s, I think. Requiem for a Village, which I think is early 80s. Kind of folk horror, it's kind of quasi-folk horror. So there are only just supernatural elements to it, but it's very much about kind of rural, smashing up against like urban and kind of like the clashes that come from it. Definitely worth a watch. After this month, I will end my subscription to that to let them, build up some more material because I've rinsed it, mate. I've gone through and I watched a shed load of it. There's some fun stuff on there as well. They got the original Godzilla, and then Toho did a follow-up called The Mysterians, which wasn't Godzilla or a giant monster, but it's like an alien invasion movie, but very much done in the style of the Godzilla film. Yeah, so it's the same studio and everything like that. They've got shed loads of Jean Rollin films.
Right, yeah.
So he did like all the lesbian vampire French 60s, 70s, 80s stuff. So there's loads of stuff on his. I've got to be honest, I hadn't really seen a lot of them.
No.
I was not well versed. So BFI player, it was on there. I thought, I'll watch some of that. So I watched Fascination, which is kind of held up as the best one to get yourself into it.
Sink your teeth into it.
Well shot. That's a terrible. Well shot.
We'll leave that in.
Amazing set design because they kind of go to these castles out in Europe and it looks amazing. Yeah. Costume design is great. Again, very gothic looking costumes and stuff. But yeah, if there's a story there, I'm struggling with it. Yeah. It takes its time. It's all about the mood and the atmosphere, which is fair enough. I think my mistake was I watched that and I went, that wasn't bad. I'll go watch some more. And then I went, by the end of it, I was just like, and that was a day. So, what was the other one I did watch? A lot of them kind of blur into one after a while.
I can imagine, mate. That's kind of a...
He's into like the same one or maybe two themes in all of his films. I mean, check them out on BFI Player. You know, if you've got the subscription, go ahead and smash through them. I'd maybe interchange them with films which focus more on storytelling. Yeah, so one of the genre in films which is, I suppose, a little bit different in that it kind of plays up more of the hokey, fun genre elements was The Living Dead Girl. Good title again.
I've seen that.
Yeah, 70s.
Yeah.
And they've got loads of other ones on there as well. They've got Shudder, which is one I've been
Shudder,
meaning to check out for a long time.
Yeah.
Arrow has a channel on there as well. So, you know, if you want to save yourself a little bit of money and you're only interested in the films,
Yeah.
I do quite like the special features packages. That's why I tend to go with Arrow. So, not really ideal for me. So yeah, check out the Amazon subscriptions. A couple of other things that are actually just on Amazon Prime Video itself, so you don't need all the extra add-ons and stuff. When you've got like the Amazon algorithms, you know, they put all the big budget stuff at the top. But if you keep scrolling past, keep going, there's some interesting stuff right at the bottom. Alright? The Butterfly...
Always interesting stuff at the bottom.
Yeah, so The Butterfly Murders is this Hong Kong film from, again, I think late 70s, early 80s, by Choi Hark. Might have pronounced that wrong.
Choi Hark!
But he was a producer who worked with John Woo on a lot of John Woo's early Hong Kong stuff. He also kind of came over to America when all the Hong Kong directors were coming over, worked with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, legend.
Yeah, so he did a lot of like the late 90s Jean-Claude Van Damme films. So his first one's The Butterfly Murders, which is mental. And you can very much see, it's a very choppy Hong Kong murder mystery kind of style film. Definitely worth a watch. Very weird, very bizarre. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, Amazon Prime have got it on there for free. You know, with their
Well, I've got Amazon Prime and I might be checking that out.
Check that out. Another one, staying in Hong Kong, I think, is The Oily Maniac. Yeah, The Oily Maniac. Now, I think 88 films, or maybe... I think 88 films. Somebody, one of the boutique labels, has either announced it or recently released it on Blu-ray, but you can if you're not sure, you can check it out on Amazon Prime. Think Toxic Avenger or Swamp Thing meets Kung Fu Movie.
Ooh.
Yes, it's amazing. It's got that very...
When was this made then?
Again, I think late 70s, early 80s, that kind of... I'm going to go with more late 70s. Yeah, it's...
Ropey effects.
Ropey effects, weird...
How much oil is involved?
It's a lot. I mean, it's kind of swampy oil,
Right.
but later on, like, any oil will do. Like, he summons his power by summoning oil from the earth, or I think later on, he, like gets it from a... Yeah, he actually covers himself with at a petrol station and turns into it. So that's how it's kind of superhero meets revenge meets kung fu meets horror
Meets deep
elements.
fried.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of a kind. I mean, you can see why it's finally been picked up by the boutique labels. It's batshit crazy, and I can't recommend it more than that. I mean, definitely check it out.
I'll be watching that.
Staying on batshit crazy and kind of mashing up genres, another one I've recently watched, which sounds better than it is, Devil's Express. AKA Gang War, which is a weird title and doesn't really relate to anything. So think low budget, I mean proper low budget, blaxploitation meets kung fu meets horror.
That's a mix.
Sounds good. Starring the one, the only, Warhawk Tanzania.
Every child's been in there.
Yeah. So Warhawk, unfortunately, as far as I can tell, was only ever in two films. I think one was Force 5 or Force 4. Force 5, Force 4. I'll cut out whichever one it is. And Devil's Express. So he's this bad brother, you know, who keeps on, like, is kind of friends with a police chief who he teaches kung fu to, and the police chief keeps on trying to, like, enroll him in the police force, and he's like, no, I'm not working for the man. Instead, I'm going to go out to China to go on this retreat and get all zen. But while he's there, his friend, who's like a shady, no-good guy, manages to uncover this amulet, which then raises a bunch of demons back in New York.
God, that's amazing.
Sounds amazing.
Is it that bad?
It's
Not even a charming way. Is it any good?
In a so bad it's good kind of way. Yeah, but even so, it sounds amazing. And what is amazing is they managed to make a kind of boring film from those elements.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And no offense, Warhawk, if you're still alive, because you look like you could kick my ass. Not the most charismatic of guys. I mean, you know, your name was. I think all of the charisma went into the name, leaving none for the man.
Just called him Bob.
Bob Tanzania.
You would have kicked ass.
Yeah. So, do I recommend it?
I would watch it just to say you've seen it.
Yeah. Crimes of Passion.
Ooh, hello.
That's an interesting one. So Ken Russell. Yeah, did this really messed up film starring Kathleen Turner as a prosy. Okay. Brilliant opening scene where it's like she's giving an acceptance speech at an award, and the camera pulls out and out and out, and there's a guy going down on her. Also stars Anthony Perkins of Psycho fame as another Psycho. This one as a preacher who has I'm going to say stainless steel dildo that's been sharpened to a point.
Oh, fuck, Jesus.
This was mainstream cinema in the mid-80s.
Ken Russell's got some balls.
Yes, he does. He really does. It is mad. Visually, it's amazing. It is proper like neon. Yeah. It feels, you know, like very primary colored neons. You know, loads of like those neon purples, hits blues. Fantastically shot. And yeah, I mean, kind of like fearless in the topic it's telling. You know, the language is filthy as fuck. There are shots in there that you're kind of like, people just would not film it that way anymore. In theory, the plot is kind of like this guy who's going through a rocky patch in his marriage. He's married to Janine from Ghostbusters.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow,
so he's going through a rocky patch in his marriage. He, like, I don't want to give too much away. He starts following around this prostitute for also, Anthony Perkins starts to get obsessed with this prostitute played by Kathleen Turner. Amazing portrayal by Kathleen Turner. I mean, you know, this is the romancing the stone lady. You know, she's a serial mom as well.
Is this around the time of War of the Roses?
Yeah. Slightly earlier than War of the Roses. So more romancing the stone period, Kathleen Turner. Yeah, very just bold, direct. I mean, it's Ken Russell, so you imagine that it's going to be fairly strong. But yeah, not really spoken about. And again, I think Amazon have got that on streaming. I think Arrow? Was it Arrow? Might have picked that up and released that, at least in America, if not over here. So that was an interesting one. Another fun one I saw, which is absolutely bizarre, is called The Bang Bang Kid.
Okay.
The Bang Bang Kid. Again, sounds better than it is, but it has got some kind of like hokey goodness in there.
I'm trying to think about what that film could be about just by the title.
It is a spaghetti western where the hero gunslinger is a robot.
Okay.
It's 60s, late 60s. Starring Tom Bosley, the dad from Happy Days.
Oh.
So he's the inventor.
So hang on.
He invented this robot.
Okay.
This automaton. And he kind of enters this town, and it's the usual, you know, Western setup where, you know, it's like a lawless town, the sheriff's rubbish.
Right.
And this gang is running the town, really.
Okay.
So he rides into town. He's basically just trying to sell his robot. You know.
So what, is he a time traveller?
No.
How on earth did they make robots?
This is, you know, it's Italy's understanding of the American West.
Oh.
So anyway, he's built this robot, which looks a lot like Tom Bosley as well.
Fucking.
And so the robot becomes the sheriff, basically controlled by remote by Tom Bosley, and then, you know, there's an inevitable showdown between
So
the
literally
baddie.
Tom Bosley is the most intelligent man ever.
Yes.
Like a fucking...
Yeah, it's like Back to the Future Part 3.
But without the time travel.
Without the time travelling, and if it was directed by an Italian.
there's a lot of flaws.
The Bang Bang Kid. It's very good natured. It feels like almost like if the Italians were trying to make a kids film.
Like
they've got that kind of kids, very slapsticky kind of humour.
Yeah.
So it's very much like that. Again, one of the characters is kind of like works in a brothel, but it's not really.
Yeah, it's child friendly.
Yeah. So the Bang Bang Kids, check it out. I'm not advising you show it to your kids, but it won't be the worst thing that they've seen on Amazon. So
probably not.
No. They've got fucking Cailou. You ever seen Cailou? Oh, it's a rubbish Canadian cartoon. Bald kid, really annoying. Yeah. So so thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching, people. We really appreciate it.
We do, because
without you, this wouldn't be possible.
That's not true. Back to the Future, where shit happens with the photograph, his sister disappears. Right.
Every time you turn us off, a bit of my equipment just vanishes.
Yeah, so if you don't subscribe, Jim's sister will disappear.
Yes! It's not a bad thing.
Oh, man.
Actually,
does she watch this?
I don't know, but I need to be careful because she often cooks.